Brit. The bond between Ethan and Zyra was no longer just a challenge to tradition. It was the spark of a new era. The first step had been taken. The galaxy would never be the same. The weeks that followed were tense, but the atmosphere on the station had changed. Where once fear and uncertainty had ruled, now there was respect, even admiration. Humans and aliens worked side by side with a new understanding. Desperate Ethan and Zyra moved among them, no longer simply commander and officer, but partners in every sense of the word. Their bond had been tested in fire and battle, and it had survived stronger than either could have imagined. But High Command remained a looming threat. Reports came in daily, messages from distant fleets warning that their authority could not be ignored, that disobedience would not be tolerated. Yet none dared take direct action. The bond between Zyra and Ethan had already proven its power, and the loyalty of the fleet was undeniable. But one evening, as the station rotated in quiet orbit around a distant star, Ethan and Zyra stood on the observation deck. Below them, the lights of the station glowed like a city of stars. Beyond, space stretched infinitely, filled with potential dangers but also possibilities. "They think they can control us," Ethan said, his voice calm but resolute. "They still don't understand what humans value most." "And what is that?" Zyra asked, her eyes focused on the distant stars. "Trust," Ethan said. Loyalty, choice. We don't act because we must. We act because we want to stand together." Desperate, Zyra nodded slowly. "I see that now, but I understand it fully, and I cannot ignore it." They spoke quietly, but their words carried weight far beyond the observation deck. Across the station, officers took notice. Humans saw a reflection of their courage. Aliens saw a new way of leadership, one that did not rely on fear but on respect and mutual trust. The first real test came sooner than they expected. Scouts reported a massive Karzal fleet moving through a nearby sector. This time, it was not a small raiding party. They were coming with warships, weapons, and an intent to destroy. The fleet had to act, and they had to act together. Ethan and Zyra convened a strategy meeting. Maps and holograms covered the table. Humans suggested unconventional tactics, maneuvers that bent standard rules, using stealth, misdirection, and coordinated attacks across multiple points. Alien officers hesitated, but Zyra did not. She looked at Ethan and nodded. "Implement their plan?" she ordered. "Trust them. Trust the humans." The fleet moved into position. Humans piloted their fighters alongside alien craft. The Karzal fleet approached, confident and predatory. But what they did not expect was cohesion between species, a level of cooperation that could not be predicted by brute force alone. Ethan led a squadron that weaved through the enemy ships, creating diversions, while Zyra commanded the main fleet, striking at critical points. Humans and aliens worked in unison. The Karzal were skilled, but they had never faced a united front like this. During the heat of battle, one of the Karzal capital ships broke through the formation, heading directly for the station. Alarms blared. Ethan's heart raced. He looked at Zyra. "Follow my lead," he said. She nodded. Together, they moved. Ethan piloted a smaller craft through debris and fire, while Zyra directed the station's defenses. Their coordination was flawless. Each move anticipated the other, instinctive and precise. The Karzal ship approached the station's core. Ethan fired disabling pulses at its engines, while Zyra targeted weapon systems. The enemy struggled, but the combined fleet's strategy worked. One by one, their attacks crippled the vessel. The transfer order reached Ethan Hale while he was still cleaning carbon dust from his boots. He had just returned from a border skirmish near Mars orbit. tired and expecting nothing more than a few weeks of rest. Brett. Instead, the message was short, cold, and official. He was to report immediately to the Astrax Joint Fleet, a mixed force of humans and alien species operating far beyond known human space. Brett, no explanation. No choice. Brett. Ethan had fought aliens before, but always at a distance, through screens, fighters, and long-range cannons. The Astrax fleet was different, Brett. It was where humans worked beside aliens. It was also where the most dangerous commanders in the galaxy served, Brett. When his transport docked, Ethan felt small for the first time in years. The station was massive, built with alien design, curved metal, glowing symbols, and corridors that felt alive. Brett, tall beings walked past him, some twice his height, others floating or moving on many limbs. A few glanced at him with curiosity, but most ignored him. He kept his posture straight. Rest. Humans had earned respect the hard way. An escort drone led him to the central command hall. But hundreds of officers stood in perfect formation, alien and human alike. At the center was a raised platform. The air felt heavy, tense, as if something important was about to happen. Then she entered. Brit. Commander Zyra of the Varelian clans was exactly as the reports described. Tall, armored in dark blue biometal, her glowing eyes sharp and unreadable. Her presence silenced the hall instantly. She was known across the galaxy as ruthless, brilliant, and completely loyal to her people. Desperate fleets surrendered when her name was spoken. Ethan swallowed. Brett. So this is my new commander. A translator hum filled the air as Zyra stepped forward. Brett, her voice was calm, powerful, and absolute. Today, she said, the Astrax fleet acknowledges a new bond. Ethan frowned. Pfft. That wasn't normal command language. Brett, one quiet night, after the battle and repairs were complete. Ethan and Zyra walked through the station's corridors. The hum of machinery was steady and calm. Brett, aliens and humans passed them, working together with ease. You've changed everything, Ethan said. Brett, not just here, but out there. He gestured toward the observation windows where stars stretched endlessly. Perhaps, Zyra said, perhaps the galaxy needed proof that choice can be stronger than fear. They stopped at the observation deck. Ethan watched the stars, feeling the vastness of space and the smallness of their station, yet the enormity of what they had accomplished. Brett, you know, he said, I never expected to be part of something like this. I joined the fleet thinking I would fight, maybe survive. Brett, I never thought we'd change the galaxy. Zyra studied him, her glowing eyes reflecting starlight. Brett, you did more than survive. You led. Brett, you inspired. You stood when others would have faltered. Brett, that is why I chose you, not because you are mine, but because you are capable. Ethan smiled faintly. Then we continue. Together? Together, Zyra said, extending her hand. He took it, not as a human subordinate, not as an alien bondmate, but as a partner. Breath. Their fingers touched lightly, a symbol of mutual respect, trust, and shared purpose. The station lights dimmed to reflect the calm of the night, yet the galaxy beyond was never still. Brett, Ethan. And Zyra knew more challenges would come. There would be threats, rival fleets, and political maneuvering. But they also knew the truth that had been proven through battle, strategy, and trust. Humans were not weak, and alliances built on choice and loyalty were unbreakable. For the first time, humans and aliens looked at each other as equals, partners, and allies. Brett. Humanity's influence spread quietly, not through conquest, but through courage, empathy, and unwavering resolve. And at the heart of it all stood Ethan and Zyra, a human and an alien, bound not by law or command, but by respect, trust, and the shared understanding that together they could face anything the galaxy would send.
Their story would be remembered.
Brett, not as a tale of domination, but as a proof that even the smallest species could stand against fear, lead through example, and change the course of entire civilizations. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. Humans, when trusted and respected, could achieve the impossible. Brit. And standing there, side by side, Ethan and Zyra smiled at the endless stars, knowing they had begun a new era. One defined not by power alone, but by courage, choice, and the unbreakable bonds forged between species. The stars outside glimmered like witnesses to a quiet revolution, and humanity's light, small but unwavering, shone across the void. For the first time, the galaxy truly understood. Humans were not just survivors. Brit. Humans were leaders. And the bond between a human and an alien commander had become the spark of a future no one could have predicted. The era of fear had ended. The era of respect had begun. Brit. And humanity would lead the way. Brit, her glowing gaze locked onto him. "Human officer, Ethan Hale," she continued. Brit, step forward. Every eye in the hall turned toward him. Human officers looked confused. Alien officers looked alert. Ethan hesitated for half a second, then obeyed. Brit. He walked forward, boots echoing against the floor, heart pounding. He stopped at the base of the platform and stood at attention. Brit. Zyra descended one step, towering over him. "I claim you," she said clearly. Brit. "By Varelian law, by command right, and by survival bond." The hall erupted into stunned murmurs. Ethan's mind froze. Brit. Claim. That word didn't belong in military protocol. Brit. Then she said the sentence that would change his life. "I am your wife." Brit. "Touch me now." The hall fell into complete silence. Ethan felt as if the universe had tilted sideways. Brit. His face flushed instantly. Human officers stared in shock. Brit. Some aliens reacted with approval, others with surprise. He didn't move. Brit. Every instinct screamed that this was wrong, misunderstood, or some kind of cruel joke. He looked around, hoping someone, anyone, would stop this, but no one did. Zyra tilted her head slightly, studying him. Brit. "Do you not understand?" she asked. I do not," Ethan said carefully. Brit. "With respect, Commander. Humans don't. This isn't how." A sharp hiss rippled through the alien ranks. Zyra raised one clawed hand, silencing them. Brit. "You are not refusing," she said. It was a statement, not a question. Brit. Ethan straightened his spine. His voice was steady, though his heart raced. Brit. "I am a human officer. I follow consent, law, and clarity. Brit. I don't touch anyone because of pressure or command." The silence deepened. Brit. This was the moment Ethan expected punishment. Arrest. Brit. Execution, even. Challenging a Varelian commander in public was unheard of. Brit. Instead. Zyra's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in focus. "Interesting," she said. Brit. She turned to the assembly. Brit. "Humans," she announced. "Interpret bonding words as intimate commands. This," Brit. "My oversight." Whispers spread again. Brit. She looked back at Ethan. "Among my people," Zyra explained. "Touch is a symbol of acknowledgement." Brit. A hand on armor, nothing more. Brit. Relief washed through Ethan, though confusion remained. Slowly, carefully, he placed his gloved hand against the edge of her armored arm, just enough to acknowledge her presence. Pulse of light ran through her armor. The alien officers bowed. Brit. The bond was sealed. Ethan stepped back immediately. Brit. His hands shook slightly, but he hid it well. The ceremony ended soon after, though no one truly heard the closing words. Brit. As officers dispersed, Ethan felt eyes following him from every direction. He barely made it back to his assigned quarters before the shock fully hit him. Brit wife, bond, Brit claim. None of this made sense. Brit A. Soft chimes sounded at his door. Before he could respond, it slid open. Brit. Commander Zyra entered alone. Ethan stood instantly. Brit, Commander.
You may relax, she said. He didn't.
She observed him in silence for a long moment. You are not afraid, she said finally. Brit, I am, Ethan replied honestly, but I won't let it control me. That answer seemed to please her. Desperate, you challenged me in public, she said. No one has done that and lived. I wasn't trying to challenge you, he said, protecting my values. Explain. In human culture, Ethan said, choosing his words carefully, we don't belong to someone because of rank or law. Partnership means choice. Brit. Zyra absorbed this slowly. To us, she said, bonding ensures loyalty. Survival, Brit order. And to us, Ethan replied, forced loyalty breaks people. Silence stretched between them. Brit. You are weaker physically, Zyra said at last. Yes, Ethan agreed, Brit, but you stood firm. Yes. Her eyes softened just slightly. This bond was intended as a political shield, she admitted, Brit. High Command wished to bind a human officer to me to control human influence. Ethan clenched his fists. So I'm a tool.
You were meant to be, she corrected.
Brit, you are not. That surprised him. You refused without hostility, she continued. A desperate, that is rare. She stepped closer, but stopped at a respectful distance. The bond cannot be undone, she said, but its meaning can change. Ethan met her gaze. Then we define it together. Zyra considered this. Brit agreed, she said. An alarm suddenly echoed through the station. But red lights flashed. Incoming hostile vessels, the station AI announced. Brit, unknown faction. Zyra turned instantly, commander instincts taking over. You will remain here, she ordered. Brit. Ethan shook his head. I'm an officer, Brit, I fight. She paused, then nodded once. Very well, bonded human, she said, desperate. Show me how humans survive. As they moved toward the command deck side by side, whispers followed them. Fear, curiosity, disbelief. No one knew it yet, but the galaxy had just taken its first step toward change, Brit, and it started not with weapons, but with a human who refused to bow, and an alien commander who chose to listen. The alarms did not stop screaming as Ethan and Zyra reached the command deck. Brit. The wide chamber was already alive with motion. Alien officers moved with sharp precision, their hands flying across glowing panels. Brit. Human technicians shouted coordinates and threat reports. The air felt tight, filled with danger and confusion. Brit. A large tactical display appeared in the center of the room. Red shapes blinked into view. Enemy ships, dozens of them, emerging from folded space. Desperate unknown faction confirmed, an officer announced. Not registered under any known alliance. Zyra stepped forward, her posture calm, her voice steady. Brit. All wings to combat readiness, she ordered. Defensive formation Theta. Brit. Protect the station at all cost. Her authority was absolute. Brit. Everyone obeyed instantly. Ethan stood beside her, watching, listening. This was not his first battle, but it was his first time fighting under an alien commander's direct command. He studied the enemy movements carefully. Brit. They're not attacking directly, he said after a moment. They're circling. Zyra glanced at him. Brit, meaning. They're looking for a weak point, Ethan replied, or trying to scare us into making a mistake. Some alien officers turned their heads toward him. But humans speaking during high command decisions was still rare. Zyra did not silence him. "Brit, recommendation?" she asked. "Hold position," Ethan said. "Brit, don't chase. Let them think we're afraid." A low murmur spread through the room. "Brit." Among the Varelians, hesitation was often seen as weakness. Zyra studied the display again, desperate. Then she nodded. "Hold formation," she repeated. "Brit." The enemy ships moved closer, firing light, probing shots. The station shields flared but held. But minutes passed. Tension built. Brit. Then one enemy ship broke formation and rushed forward. "Now!" Ethan said sharply. "Brit, they're baiting us." Zyra raised her hand. "Target the lead ship only. Brit, disable. Do not destroy." The fleet responded instantly. Precision fire struck the enemy vessel, crippling its engines without exploding it. The ship drifted helplessly. Brit. The remaining enemy ships hesitated. Then they retreated. Brit. A wave of relief spread through the command deck. "Well done," Zyra said quietly. Brit. Ethan let out a slow breath. "They'll be back." "Yes," she agreed. "But now they know we are not careless." The immediate danger passed, but the tension did not. As officers returned to their duties, Ethan felt the weight of many eyes on him again. But not fear this time, interest. Brit. Later, in a quieter corridor, Ethan walked beside Zyra toward a private briefing chamber. The station lights dimmed to combat standby, casting long shadows. "Brit, you trusted my judgment," Ethan said. "Brit, I did," Zyra replied. "That is not common for me." "Why?" She stopped walking. Brit. He stopped too. "Because you see patterns," she said. "Brit, not just power." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans had to learn that. Brit, we were never the strongest species in our own world." She looked at him with something close to curiosity. "Brit, in Varelian history," she said. "Strength has always decided leadership." "And where did that get you?" Ethan asked gently. Her jaw tightened. "Brit, an empire built on fear." They continued walking. In the days that followed, Ethan's life changed completely. Brit. He was no longer just a human officer assigned to the fleet. He was watched, discussed, and quietly judged. Brit. Some alien officers respected him for standing up to Zyra. Others disliked him for the same reason. Resk. Among humans, reactions were mixed. "You're married to her now?" One pilot whispered in disbelief. Brit. "No," Ethan replied. "It's but complicated." "That's an understatement. The bond followed him everywhere." Breath. He felt it in subtle ways. Priority access doors opening, alien guards stepping aside, systems recognizing his authority beyond his rank. It made him uncomfortable. Brit. He brought it up with Zyra during a private meeting. "I don't want special treatment," he said. Brit. "Not because of a bond I didn't ask for." "You did not ask," she agreed, "but it exists. Then let me earn whatever position I have." She considered this. Brit. "Very well," she said. "You will be judged as any other officer." That decision shocked the fleet. Brit. Zyra assigned Ethan to joint training exercises. Human squads paired with alien units. The differences were clear immediately. Brit. Alien soldiers were disciplined, powerful, and direct. Human soldiers were adaptable, creative, and stubbornly independent. Brit. At first, the exercises failed badly. Aliens expected orders to be obeyed instantly. Brit. Humans asked questions. Humans improvised. Brit. Aliens saw that as disorder. Arguments broke out. Brit. Simulations ended in failure. Ethan watched carefully. Brit. During one session, a Varelian squad leader confronted him. "Your people are inefficient," the alien snapped. Brit. "They refuse direct commands." Ethan stayed calm. "They don't refuse." Brit. "They need context. Context wastes time, or saves lives," Ethan replied. Brit. He gathered both squads together. "New rule," he said. "Aliens give objectives. Humans decide methods." Brit. "Then we adapt together." The next simulation went differently. Desperate humans used unexpected routes, distractions, and teamwork. Aliens provided strength and precision where needed. Brit. They succeeded. Slowly, grudging respect formed. Desperate Syra observed everything from a distance. "You are changing my fleet," she said one evening. Brit. "I'm not trying to," Ethan replied. "I just don't think strength has to mean control." She looked thoughtful. Brit. "There is something else," she said. "The bond." Ethan stiffened slightly. Brit. "Yes? Among my people," Zyra said, "bonded partners share private space. Trust, Brit. Protection." "And among humans," Ethan said. "Trust takes time." "I am learning," she said. Desperate. That admission surprised him more than anything else she had said so far. One night, the fleet received intelligence about the unknown enemy faction. They were called the Karzal, raiders who enslaved weaker species and sold them across the outer systems. "They will return," Zyra said during the briefing, "and they will target our weakness." All eyes turned to Ethan. "He is not a weakness," Zyra said firmly. Brit. But the enemy thought otherwise. The next attack came suddenly. Brit's smaller ships slipped past defenses and launched boarding pods toward the station. "They're coming inside!" someone shouted. Zyra turned to Ethan. "Stay with me." They fought side by side through the corridors. Brit. Ethan used his rifle with practiced skill. Zyra moved like a living weapon, her armor deflecting fire. Brit. At one point, an explosion threw Ethan against the wall. Pain flared through his side. Brit. Zyra reacted instantly, placing herself between him and incoming fire.
"You are injured," she said.
Brit. "I'm fine," he lied, forcing himself upright. She looked at him closely, then did something no Varelian commander had ever done. Brit. She trusted him. "Lead," she said. Brit. Ethan took charge, coordinating human and alien units through tight corridors using traps and teamwork instead of brute force. They drove the Karzal back. Brit. When it was over, the station was damaged but intact. Zyra stood before the fleet, her voice echoing through the halls. Brit. "Today," she said, "we survived because of unity, not dominance." Her gaze found Ethan. The human way has value. For the first time, the alien officers bowed, not just to their commander, but to the idea she represented. Respite, as medical teams treated the wounded. Ethan sat quietly, exhausted. Zyra approached him. "Brit, you could have died," she said. "So could you," he replied. Brit. She paused, then placed her armored hand over his injured side, not as a command, not as a claim, but as concern. The bond shifted again. Brit. Not ownership. Not politics. Brit. Something closer to trust. And far away, in the darkness of space, the Karzal watched and learned. The human was no longer just a symbol. He was a target. The repairs had barely begun when the sense of danger returned. The Astrak station floated in uneasy silence, its outer hull scarred, its people tired, desperate. Patrol ships moved slowly, watching the dark space around them. Everyone knew the Karzal would not forget their failure. Brit. Ethan felt it too. He stood near a wide observation window, staring into the stars. His injury had been treated, but the pain was still there, a dull reminder of how close things had come. Humans nearby spoke in low voices. Alien officers passed with serious expressions. The fleet was no longer calm. Behind him, heavy footsteps approached.
You should be resting,
Zyra said. Ethan turned. So should you. She did not argue. Instead, she stood beside him, looking out into space. The Karzal do not retreat unless they plan something worse, she said. I know, Ethan replied. They learned from us. That makes them dangerous. She glanced at him. They learned from you. That thought sat heavily between them. In the following days, security was tightened. Joint patrols increased. Training continued, harder and faster than before. Human and alien units worked together with growing trust, though tension never fully left. Ethan noticed changes in Zyra as well. She listened more, asked questions. Sometimes she even waited for input before giving orders. To her people, this was unheard of. To Ethan, it was leadership. Then the attack came, not loud, not sudden, but quiet and precise. It happened during a supply transfer from a nearby Allied station. Cargo bays opened. Shields lowered just enough. That was enough. A hidden Karzal ship slipped through, masked by debris and signal noise. Before alarms could fully sound, boarding teams were already inside, tacking randomly, searching. They are heading toward Command Sector C, an officer shouted. Ethan's blood ran cold. That's where, he began. The truth hit fast and hard. They want me, Ethan said. Alive. Zyra's eyes burned. I will not allow it. She issued rapid orders, sealing corridors, redirecting troops. But the Karzal moved like shadows, using stolen tech and inside knowledge. Too efficient. They had help, Ethan said. Yes, Zyra replied grimly. The station shook as explosions rocked distant sections. Smoke filled the halls. Lights flickered. Zyra grabbed Ethan's arm. Stay close. They moved through narrow corridors, weapons ready. Blaster fire echoed ahead. Then it happened. A blast tore through the wall between them. Ethan was thrown back, hard. The world spun. When he tried to stand, something wrapped around him. Energy restraints, cold and tight. Karzal soldiers emerged from the smoke, tall and thin, their armor dark and cruel. Zyra roared and charged, cutting down 2 of them instantly. But more appeared. A stun field flared. Zyra collapsed to one knee, fighting it with raw strength. Ethan struggled against the restraints. Zyra! He shouted. A Karzal leader stepped forward, his voice harsh and mocking. Human, it said. You are valuable. A blade hovered near Ethan's throat. Come with us, the alien continued, or your commander dies. Zyra tried to rise. The stun field intensified. Ethan stopped struggling. Don't, he said softly to her. Her eyes locked onto his. No, she growled. Ethan met her gaze, steady despite the fear tearing through him. This is my choice, he said. Then he looked at the Karzal leader. I'll go. The restraints tightened, and the Karzal dragged him away as explosions sealed the corridor behind them. Zyra screamed his name. The sound followed Ethan into darkness. He woke in chains. The Karzal ship was cold, sharp-edged, and filled with a quiet hum of cruelty. Desperate Ethan was held in a containment chamber. energy fields locking him in place. The Karzal leader stood before him. Brit, you confuse us, it said. Your species is weak, Brit, yet you change fleets. Commanders bend, Brit. We adapt, Ethan replied. You enslave, Brit, that's the difference. The alien clicked in irritation. You are leverage, it said. Brit, your commander will come. Ethan said nothing. He only hoped she wouldn't. Brit, but Zyra was already moving. The moment Ethan was taken, something broke inside her. Brit, not fear. Control, Brit. She ordered the fleet into pursuit, ignoring protocol, ignoring high command warnings. When they demanded she stand down, she cut the channel. Brit, they took what is mine, she said coldly. I will take everything from them. The fleet followed without question. Brit, human officers stood with her. Alien officers did too. This was no longer just command. It was loyalty, Brit. Meanwhile, Ethan endured interrogation. They tried threats, Brit, isolation. Promises of power. Desperate. He gave them nothing. They will abandon you, the Karzal leader said. Brit, they won't, Ethan replied. How can you be sure? Because humans don't leave their own, he said. Brit, and neither does she. That confidence unsettled them. Days passed. Brit, then alarms sounded again, this time on the Karzal ship. Explosions tore through its outer hull. Brit, Cyrus' fleet had arrived. Chaos erupted. Brit's systems failed. Prison cells flickered. Brit, Ethan felt the energy field weaken. He slammed against it again and again, ignoring the pain. Brit, with a final surge, the field collapsed. He ran. Brit, blaster fire filled the corridors. Smoke burned his lungs. Brit. He fought his way forward, taking weapons from fallen guards, pushing through with pure will. Then he saw her. Zyra stood at the center of the chaos, her armor cracked, her eyes blazing like stars. Ethan, she said. Brit. He didn't hesitate. They moved together, back to back, fighting as one. Brit, no orders. No hierarchy. Brit, just trust. At the ship's core, the Karzal leader waited, surrounded by guards. Brit, you would risk everything for a human? It sneered. Zyra stepped forward. Brit, he is not a human, she said. He is my equal. The battle was brutal, but short, desperate. When it ended, the Karzal ship drifted powerless, its leadership destroyed. Zyra ordered the survivors imprisoned, not executed. Desperate. That is the human way, she said. Back aboard the Astrak station, the mood was different, but quieter, heavier. Brit, Zyra stood before her fleet. I defied High Command, she said. Brit, I broke tradition. I chose one life over protocol. She looked at Ethan. Brit, I would do it again. Silence followed. Brit. Then, one by one, officers lowered their heads, not in fear, but respect. Later, in a quiet chamber, Ethan and Zyra stood alone. Brit, you should not have come, Ethan said. I could not do otherwise, she replied. Brit, he met her gaze. Then this bond, Brent, it's more than words now. Yes, she said. Brit, it is. Outside the station, the galaxy shifted, slowly, dangerously. Because the Karzal were not the only ones watching, Brit, and High Command was beginning to realize something frightening. The human was no longer just changing a fleet, Brit. He was changing an empire. The station's lights flickered back to normal, but the calm felt fragile. Repairs were ongoing, yet the atmosphere was tense. The crew moved like soldiers walking on the edge of a blade, knowing that even small mistakes could lead to disaster. Brit, Zyra's eyes never left Ethan. She had watched him fight, survive, and earn the respect of her people. But now a larger challenge approached, one that no weapon or strategy could fully resolve. High Command summoned her. The communication came directly through the station's secure channels. Their message was clear and unyielding. The bond with Ethan must be terminated. Brit. The humans, they said, were too unpredictable, too emotional, and too dangerous to serve as equals alongside a Varelian commander. Zyra leaned back in her chair, her glowing eyes narrowing. Brit, they do not understand, she muttered. This is not politics, Brit. This is survival. Ethan, sitting quietly beside her, sensed the tension immediately. What are they demanding? He asked. They order me to sever our bond, she said, her voice tight with restrained fury. Pressed to make you subordinate, to punish you publicly if necessary. Brit, Ethan's stomach sank. So they want me to bow or something worse? Zyra's hands clenched into fists. They wish to maintain control. Brit, by any means necessary. If I obey, I will dishonor the fleet, Brit. If I refuse, they will punish me, Brit. Ethan met her gaze steadily. Then we refuse. Together, Brit. She looked at him, surprised. Few humans ever spoke so calmly in moments like this. Brit, do you understand what you are saying? I do, Ethan said. If you stand alone, I will stand with you. Brit, if they punish me, it won't matter. I am not your prisoner. Brit, I am your ally. Always, Brit. For a moment, Zyra simply stared at him. The Varelians believed loyalty was bought or enforced. Brit, humans, she realized, offered it differently, through choice, courage, and unwavering resolve. The next morning, the fleet's leadership convened in the central hall. Brit, holograms of distant star systems blinked across the chamber. Zyra's armor gleamed in the harsh light, but her posture was unyielding. Brit, High Command's representatives appeared on the central screens, their faces cold and emotionless. You have defied orders, one of them said. Brit, you have bonded with a human in direct contradiction to tradition. This cannot stand, Brent. Ethan Hale must be removed from your command immediately. You will comply, Brit. Zyra's voice was calm, but each word carried weight. I will not. The representative's eyes narrowed. Brit, Commander, this is insubordination. Do you understand the consequences? I do, she replied. Brit, and I accept them. Ethan stepped forward, and I do too. Gasps filled the chamber. Brit, humans rarely spoke in such a way before alien authority, and to see one step forward in solidarity with a Varelian commander was nearly unheard of.
You would risk your life for her? A representative asked, incredulous.
Brit, I would risk everything, Ethan said. Because she trusts me, Brit. Because she earns my respect. Because that is what humans do, Brit. We do not abandon those who choose to stand beside us. The silence that followed was heavy, Brit. Cyrus' people waited for her to falter, for her to kneel or obey. But she did neither, Brit. Her glowing eyes fixed firmly on the representatives, unwavering, Brit. Very well, one of them said at last. You will be stripped of your command and confined for insubordination, Brit. Your fleet will follow orders without you. Zyra tilted her head. If you remove me, the fleet will disband. Breath. My people will refuse. You will have alien soldiers in mutiny and human crews abandoning your stations. Brit. Another representative sneered. You overestimate your influence. Zyra's hand rested lightly on Ethan's shoulder. Desperate, he felt the weight of her power, but also the trust. Then you will see, she said softly. Brit, humans are stronger than you think. Together, we are stronger than you believe. Brit, the conference ended abruptly, but the decision hung over the fleet like a storm cloud. Ethan and Zyra returned to the station's command deck, where whispers followed them. Alien and human officers alike wondered if the station would survive the political storm, or if rebellion would erupt.
I never thought I would see a human defy me and still earn my respect,
Zyra said quietly. You earned mine first, Ethan replied. And now I earn yours every day. The days that followed were tense. Zyra remained on the command deck, leading patrols, coordinating repairs, and keeping the fleet ready for the Karzal or any other threat. Ethan worked beside her, not as a subordinate, but as a partner, an equal in strategy, courage, and decision-making. The aliens around them began to notice the shift. Officers whispered in the corridors. Humans began to act more boldly, following Ethan's example. The bond between Zyra and Ethan became a symbol, not of ownership, but of partnership, courage, and mutual respect. Then the news came. Another fleet, loyal to high command, was en route to enforce the separation. They carried heavy weaponry, enough to intimidate even Zyra's forces. They intend to take control, she said, standing beside Ethan at the observation window. They believe fear will force obedience. Desperate, they underestimate us, Ethan said. They don't see what we've built here. They don't see that loyalty is chosen, not forced. Zyra nodded. We will show them. The first ships arrived at the edge of the station's orbit. Their weapons glowed ominously. But the Asterix fleet did not panic. Humans and aliens moved in coordinated precision, a result of the partnership Ethan had helped forge. When the enforcement fleet attempted to issue an ultimatum, Zyra responded directly. You may come and try to enforce your orders, she said, her voice broadcast across every channel. But this station and its crew will not bow to fear. Desperate loyalty here is chosen, not demanded. We stand together. Human and Varelian. Together, The enforcement fleet hesitated. It was rare for Varelian officers to defy high command, and rarer still to see humans stand confidently at a commander's side. The sight was unnerving, even to seasoned officers. Then Ethan stepped forward, addressing both fleets. You think control comes from power and threat, he said. We prove it comes from courage, choice, and trust. You can force obedience, but you cannot force respect or loyalty. That is why we will stand. The silence that followed was deafening. Human officers nodded in quiet agreement. Alien officers glanced at each other, their own loyalty shaken by the power of Ethan's words. High command representatives realized the situation had shifted. What they intended as a simple enforcement now teetered on rebellion. Zyra Station was not just holding, it was inspiring. For the first time, a human had influenced an entire alien fleet. The standoff continued for hours, no weapons fired, but tension crackled like electricity. Then the representatives, sensing the resolve of both Ethan and Zyra, slowly backed down. They could not risk full-scale mutiny by pressing the attack. You have made your point, one said finally. But this is not over. Zyra's eyes glowed. We are ready. When the screens went dark, the station erupted in relief. Humans cheered quietly. Alien officers allowed themselves small gestures of approval. The bond between Zyra and Ethan had shifted again, not just politically, but culturally. They had changed the meaning of loyalty, partnership, and leadership within the fleet.
That night, Ethan walked through the station corridors, reflecting on everything that had happened.
He had been claimed, challenged, and tested, but he had never felt more alive. Desperate he stopped outside Zyra's quarters. She was there, waiting. You were magnificent today, she said as he entered. They would not have understood if not for you. It was not just me, Ethan replied. It was all of us, humans. Aliens. Everyone who chose to stand. She studied him, her expression softening slightly. You make it easier to believe that change is possible, Britt, even among my people. Ethan smiled faintly. Britt, then we keep proving it every day. Together, they looked out at the stars. Beyond the station, the galaxy remained vast, dangerous, and uncertain. But for the first time, Ethan felt that humans and aliens, different as they were, could face it together. In the quiet moments, the bond between them was no longer a matter of tradition or command. Britt, it was trust, it was courage, it was choice. And it would stand against anything the galaxy could throw at them, Britt. The coming days promised new threats, both from enemy fleets and from high command. But Ethan and Zyra knew they would face it side by side. But humanity had earned respect in a universe that often demanded fear, and that respect had begun to shift the balance of power in ways no one had expected. And as they stood together ready for whatever came next, the galaxy began to understand something powerful. Humans did not conquer through fear. They conquered through courage, choice, and unbreakable loyalty. Finally, with a final concentrated strike, the ship exploded in a controlled detonation, sending debris scattering into the void. The station was safe, The remaining enemy forces retreated. The fleet erupted in relief, cheering and shouting, but humans embraced each other. Aliens nodded in solemn recognition. The battle had been won, not by strength alone, but by unity, trust, and strategy. After the battle, Zyra addressed the fleet. Her voice was steady, resonant, carrying across the communication channels. Today, she said, we have proven something important. Humans and aliens together can achieve what neither could alone. Strength is not measured by size or power alone, but by courage, loyalty, and trust. This bond between human and Varelian is not a weakness, It is our greatest strength. Her eyes found Ethan's. You have shown me the meaning of partnership, You have changed me, and through me, this fleet. Ethan felt the weight of her words, He had only acted as he believed right, but the recognition of his efforts and of humanity's values felt profound. In the weeks that followed, the station became a symbol. News spread to other fleets and even to distant colonies. A human and an alien commander had changed the meaning of leadership, Where fear had ruled, respect now guided. Where obedience had been forced, loyalty was chosen. High command could no longer enforce outdated rules without risking rebellion. The station had become more than a military base. It was a lesson, a demonstration that humanity's principles had value far beyond their homeworld. Ethan, and Zyra continued their work together, side by side. Training sessions were no longer exercises in dominance, but collaborations. Human ingenuity, combined with alien discipline, produced strategies that were previously unimaginable. Both species learned from each other, and both grew stronger.